Going to be a multi-state event with the potential for significant impacts from Florida all the way to Tennessee. And the president wants to make sure that everyone is paying attention to the potential life-threatening impacts that this storm may bring. And he has directed me to travel there tomorrow to assess the impacts. The entire state of Florida is under some type of warning right now, whether that's a hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. And we expect life-threatening flash flooding in the state's north as the storm continues to move north. And so I need everybody to pay attention to their local officials. They're going to have the best information on the specific risks where you are at. We're already seeing impacts in Florida, and the forecast indicates that we could see up to 20 feet of storm surge. So just think back 2 years ago to Hurricane Ian. The peak storm surge from that was 14 feet, and we saw the amount of destruction, and 150 people lost their lives, the majority of them from drowning. So please take this threat from storm surge seriously. Residents that are in these areas, they can still take action. They can take action now to move out of harm's way. And remember that you may only need to go 10 or 15 miles inland to get away from the threat of the storm surge itself, because water is the #1 reason that we see people lose their lives in these storms. So please don't underestimate what the impacts could possibly be. So at the President's direction, we have over 1,100 personnel so far across the federal government supporting the preparedness efforts for this storm. We also have an additional 700 personnel from FEMA that are already in these states supporting other disasters that we can quickly pivot to support any of the response needs as needed. Some of the resources that we have already deployed include 8 search and rescue teams across Florida and Georgia, as well as resources from the Coast Guard, the Department of Defense, to immediately support any life-saving operations as needed. The Army Corps of Engineers has power restoration teams and debris specialists who are going to be able to help restore power and support debris removal operations as soon as it is safe to do so. We have health and medical task forces from Health and Human Services to evaluate the impacts to medical facilities. We have food, water, generators, and tarps that are deployed to staging locations across the region, and so they are easily accessible and movable post-storm. And the Red Cross is actively standing up shelters in areas that are expected to see and feel the impacts from Helene. My regional administrator is currently embedded in the Florida Emergency Operations Center, as well as incident management assistance teams in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, and we have one currently moving to North Carolina today, so we can ensure seamless communications between the federal government and the needs of the states. I'm very grateful, as you heard, President Biden quickly approved pre-landfall declarations for Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, and this allows us to immediately provide any of that life-saving support in the coming days. And I'm grateful for the rest of the federal family that is there on the ground working with us side by side as we prepare to support the American people for what is to come over the next several days. I just want everybody to know that the Biden-Harris administration, we are ready for this event. We have aggressively pre-deployed resources. We are postured for whatever response might be needed. And so let me just say one more time before I take any questions, take the storm seriously. People in Hurricane Helene's path, you need to listen to your local officials. If they tell you to evacuate, please do so. And if they tell you to shelter in place, then that's what you should do. They're going to give you the best information that you can do for your specific situation. Those decisions can save lives. And with that, then I'll take questions.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Dan. So this is likely to be the 21st billion-dollar weather or climate disaster this year. So does FEMA have the resources to keep on responding to disaster after disaster like this?
So we have absolutely enough resources to continue to support the life-saving response that we need to for this event. I think everybody's aware that we went into immediate needs funding as our disaster relief fund. The funding was running low. But the reason we do that is to make sure we have enough money for an event just like this. And so I want everybody to know that we have exactly what we need, and there are no limitations to our ability to support the response for this disaster. As we continue to go through the recovery, though, for all of these disasters, that also takes personnel. And we're going to continue to work through with our states about what they need and how we can best adjudicate those resources. But we are seeing an increase, and we're seeing a strain on our staff with more of them deployed for longer periods of time, helping to support these communities recover.
And just also related to the money here, some pretty substantial losses projected in terms of the crop insurance, in terms of the flood insurance. There's no new money in the CR as far as this is concerned. Is there any expectation that you're going to have to go back with a supplemental request?
So we did put a supplemental request in with the CR. It does not give us a supplemental at this time, but it gives us the ability to spend the money that was put forth in the president's budget. But we're already through INF $9 billion, close to $9 billion in projects that we have put on hold that we can't reimburse communities for. Once we lift INF and once the CR goes into effect, we'll be able to pay those. But without a supplemental, we will be back in INF probably in the January timeframe.